this morning. Heard the TV saying something about disaster in the world, and it made me wonder where I'm going. So much darkness in the world, but I see beauty left in you, girl. What you give me lets me know that I'll be alright. Cause if your love was all I had in this life, well, that would give me love to the end of time.
And ladies and gentlemen, what you're going to hear right now is a short little conversation I had with my friend Matt of Deathmatch Royalty, and of course, the co-host with the most, well, one of my other, of the Polypod, I got here, Arturo. It's just, just a nice little conversation. We went over like about like the
Aquí, en
value.
mi voz del Falcón Azul, con Doc, porque él está haciendo Space Ghost, pero yo soy el Blue Falcon.
Yeah, we have the Blue Falcon. We have I just like using the Space Ghost voice because shout out to you, man. RIP. I forgot the name of the
Haha.
man. I love Space Ghost Ghost to Coast. That was part of my childhood. Like just randomly
Same.
see, like you randomly see the Hulkster there like doing an interview or like fucking Bob Ross was the interview on there. I'm bringing this up because I watched recently. Shout out to Kaiser Beams, a whole like Looney Tunes, like the absorption of like Looney Tunes, MGM,
Oh, I
and
need to watch that at some point.
yeah, it's great. And Hanna Barbera into the Warner Library, and like it's pretty much a detail of like how throughout like its inception, Warner Brothers has been a studio that's been absorbed into other studios, been absorbed into things. We even talked about like the parking lot advertising agency that did buy all the rest of Warner Brothers. So like in the
Kinney, what is it? Kinney Parking
yeah,
Company.
Kitty like
It was
yeah
a park. What is it? A parking and funeral homes and I think cement mixing was
yeah yeah,
the.
and
Oh,
they
and
bought
obviously the cleaning company, which is cleaning
yeah clean
the laundromats.
yeah yeah.
Like
So they bought the
the
rights
familiar
to
thread is all businesses that operate with cash. Okay, sorry. Keep going.
that's interesting. So yeah, so I recently watched that. That's why I'm bringing that up. And the whole story about Cartoon Network, Ted Turner purchasing all this stuff. It all blends together, and like all these things that I've been watching has just been like, it's just kind of been copacetic and cute, that I've been watching all these things that sort of led to this. And not all this is in the conversation. Some of it is, just something. I just want to give Matt an introduction because I'm not sure if he's gonna. Oh, hey Matt, how you doing?
All good?
Yeah, and
Be here?
join us on this state of wrestling. This is just a little bit of a tidbit, a little bit of like an extra bonus content that you're gonna have on this episode. So from Space Ghost, Falcon Azul, and I don't know who you would be, Matt. Maybe you'd be like Dynamite. That's a
I wanted to be Zorak, but
okay. You
fine.
you can be Zorak. Oh man.
I could be.
You could be Zorak. You could be Brack. Whoever you want to be. It's all good. But yeah, man. Thank you guys for this.
Everybody's here. Here.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like the old Doctor Who tapes where like essentially nobody saw any value in this shit. So essentially like all the early wrestling, a lot of the early wrestling was destroyed. Like it wound up it's like in the middle of the Hudson Bay. They literally threw the tapes in the middle of Hudson Bay, all the old wrestling at like the Dumont and Wrestling Marigold and that shit. So like that's why we only have that. But the thing is then when you look a lot of the things that we think are new because you see it for the first time in the 70s is really shit that is already going on way back when. It's just like nobody has it on tape, so people can pretend it's new, right?
Yeah.
But you can like watch matches when you actually do get matches. You can see like Buddy Rogers matches. Buddy Rogers is doing things that like are the same as you would do now. I mean, obviously there's shit that they don't do because they don't know, but like a lot of that shit being lost and a lot of the Mexican stuff being lost is why you don't have that, right?
Yeah. a lot of the big EMLL matches from the 80s, the only reason we have them is because New Japan was filming there. Whenever they had like Hogan or had like Fujinami or Tiger Mask in doing like matches there, they record the whole show. Like and they record the whole show and they would be the cameras there. So like whatever you watch like a old some old lucha, the commentators are gonna be Japanese because those are the only guys filming there. And the reason, like the whole big Hulk Hogan El Connect match, which is like that's my holy grail. And according to Dave, he has that match, and I asked him if he had that match.
I'm
It's
assuming he has it probably through Tenay or through Borash.
yeah,
I mean, like,
that's one of the
it's one of those
matches.
things. Are like, I'm
Yeah,
assuming there's a group of like, I'm assuming there's like, if you get into it like Tenay might actually be able to like put it accessible
yeah,
or something. Like, there's people. There's again, that's the other part. The other hidden part is a lot of people don't really realize that like because of the Mexican TV ban, a lot of the shit didn't like happen on wasn't available either. So you're essentially kind
yeah,
of like all this lore exists. People who watched it live, right? There's a lot. I'm fascinated by all these shows that existed in like this pre-era where like they and it happens with TV too, like people who are stars on shows that don't really exist anymore. Like people know who this person is because
Yeah.
they were on a show that was like on live TV but never was conserved on tape, right? And so
yeah,
it's the same thing for wrestling. Like there's all these like old the evolution of stuff that was done and existed, but it isn't present anywhere unless like it's passed in oral history. Mexico is like the whole story about like the Santo versus Blue Demon feud, right? Like we
yeah,
have pictures, we have descriptions of it, but like it wasn't really on tape because
yeah,
they weren't allowed to like to record it, right? And
brother.
it isn't like Japan where like people had the cameras in Japan to record some of this shit. So like this is why like when like we get shows from like Monterrey, people are like, oh wow, from like for Toros and for groups like we're getting into like the deeper
Yeah,
level history.
Yeah.
But it's really fascinating to see some of this stuff because like we think that a lot of the stuff came up, but this stuff, if you read back, was going on in the early 20th century, right?
yeah. It
And
was
it's
like in
just
the
kind of
30s and 40s. Right? There's some like real footage. And I mean real like REEL footage of like old time lucha where they have a Gordy Guerrero on there, and I've seen some of it. A lot of my references for like wrestling and lucha in the '60s is stuff like from the movies because they film when they go to like the Arena Calceo and they
yeah.
film Demon and and Tineblas and Santo having these matches and like. And I've been going down a lucha movie hole, like, and I love it, man. I love Santo and Demon movies. Blue
Yeah, like
Demon is such a better actor.
I was joking that one of the purposes when we have faster than light travel is we can park a spaceship at like 40 light years so we can like get TV from like 40 years ago and record all the wrestling from 40 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Because I'd be fascinated to see things like there's big Hawaii. Like I want to see
Oh yeah.
like I want to see the Japanese guys working out of like I want to see Ricky Dozan. I don't know if you've ever seen this. Have you ever seen the video of like Ricky Dozan coming into like Hawaii as like
Yeah.
the monster to like and like that's fascinating shit, right? He's coming in as like the invading kind of heel thing, and it's really kind of interesting to see that. And I would love all the big Hawaii stuff that I find or the LA stuff that you find is really fucking cool, right?
Yeah,
And
because
I,
Ricky Dozan actually trained in America before debuting in Japan, that's
right, and
fascinating to me.
he was working with Freddie Blassie, right? He was working Freddie Blassie. He was
Yeah.
working the loop. They would work the loop in Hawaii and work the loop in L.A. and out like in the Pacific Northwest. So they work all the West Coast. The problem is like, and this is like again another thing that happens is like what one of the things that happened when Vince came in, right? The Vince McMahon Jr. is all the old promoters, like the big territories, Chicago. So the territories are like Chicago, LA, and New York were the big kind of centers, and then obviously like Florida, Georgia, that kind of deal, right?
Hmm.
And a lot of these territories, like LA, died because the successors all sucked, right? And so everybody kind of like stepped out, and then like Vince kind of came in and took over the territory, but it wasn't that the territory was like bad; it's just that there was no successor, right? So it was
Yeah.
like a vacuum. All the guys got old, there was nobody there, and like that happened kind of a lot. Like there wasn't anybody to take it over, and it kind of happened in in like the Midwest with the Midwest was different because like again like AWA and kind of like God, I forget the guy the AWA promoter was an idiot. I forget his name.
Vern Gagne, or we're talking.
Gagne. But Burn kind of like screwed it up, and like this other stuff. I mean, like I always kind of line up and say that like I mean Ted kind of won. If you view it as a holistic thing, you can't like view it in a way where like Ted Turner didn't win. But the problem is like Ted winning meant that he didn't give a shit about wrestling, right? Or he gave a shit, but he wasn't. I mean, if you're basically running the Braves and like you've got an NFL team and you've got $1 billion, you don't care about like the little wrestling promotion that help you get everything kind of done, right? So I mean, like it's kind of the same kind of deal. It's like it's all this lost lore of stuff, and we ended up with the style that won is not even the style. Like the style that won is the cartoon version of the Northeast style in the United States.
Yeah,
like, the New York style, but sanitized for kids, right? And really, people kind of forget that. And this is kind of I think like why like it gets so weird with people now because like essentially like what AEW kind of tries to do is go more towards the kind of adult style that used to be like more prevalent in like the South and even in like the Northeast. But again, like people aren't used to it, right? And then like it confuses them because the storytelling is different.
What's funny is the Northeast style, like that we talked about, right? The WWF style, the old WWF style, before the whole rock and wrestling thing. So we're talking about like Sergeant Slaughter. We were talking about this before we started recording. Was
Yeah,
a lot of the old WWF style was blood and guts.
I mean, if
Gorilla
you think about it,
Monsoon.
who did Old Man Vince partner with? Old Man Vince and Drum Man Vince used to partner with New Japan. So a lot of the Inoki, like we think about it as Inokiism, which is like Inoki working against like the monster heels, or Okada working against the monster heel. That's fucking Bruno. That's straight up Bruno shit, right? That's like that's exactly what the New York territory used to be like on the Bruno, which is like Bruno working with the monster of the month. They would bring out these huge monsters for him to work, and like think about like the Vader Inoki angle, right?
Yeah.
That is a classic. You could have run that shit in the '60s with Bruno, and it would have drawn all over the East Coast, right? Big monster heel comes in, beats Bruno, and now we gotta like crushes him, and wow, now we gotta like build him back up to like that would have been like a money program up and down the East Coast. It's very recognizable for that, right?
It's a lot like the Koloff program where Koloff beat Bruno and it was quiet. Like I think that's the night the MSG was just like quiet. I think that's what I talk about. That's what Mike Tyson talked about. One of his core memories as a kid was Bruno Sammartino losing and the crowd just going quiet because you're shocked about the Monster family actually winning.
Right, which is effectively what the Inoki. If you ever watch the Inoki Vader match, that's exactly what happened. I mean, obviously it's a slightly different, but like Vader is one of the old time unique talents.
Oh,
but yeah, that's exactly what they did in that particular program. It's like
they threw the pillows. They lit the couch cushion the cushions on fire and started throwing it at the ring at Vader. That's
I remember.
That's
he got banned for a year, didn't he, from Sumo Hall for that
because the discussion we were having right now, because we're about to record something else. So it's just about like how old school wrestling, and we were talking about earlier about like the preservation of like footage and how footage doesn't exist. It does exist. And like a couple of years, like my friend Brian Turner, VHS, his channel got shut down, like 5,000 videos, hours and hours and hours of footage not even used on WWE Network, not even owned by WWE Network. It's the
way to kind of view it is I took these classes on Greek myth when I was at my Ivy League education, and I talked about Knossos and talked about kind of the lore that the audience knows, right? So like there's the chorus that basically, but there's a set of knowledge and a set of expectations and a set of tropes that the audience comes preloaded with because they're cultural. And I think one of the things that's kind of really interesting is like wrestling in the 70s, like people weren't discovering wrestling in the 70s. It seems that way to us because we have the footage just from the 70s.
Yeah.
But people in the 70s have been watching wrestling on TV since the 40s, right? And it's just, we don't have it, but they had all these tropes and kind of cultural expectations and beats that like the audience is expecting, right? You're watching a story,
Yeah,
and it's like when you do like shave and handshake, which are like dun 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 dun, dun, like you know what's coming, right? So there's
yeah,
these pre-rendered beats and these kind of like rich lore that people are coming into it. So it's not a brand new art form. It's a developed art form that has all these beats coming into it, right? And
yeah.
some of that is maybe probably lost, but I mean, like, yeah, I mean, it just like sometimes when you step into like because we're gonna watch an older match, like when you step into this, like it's good to know these kind of things because a lot of these things aren't happening in the vacuum, right?
Oh yeah, because there's these matches from the 50s, right? The women's matches that we watch, the June
Yeah,
Byers matches where she's romping, stomping all over the place, being stiff, hitting like heavy forearms.
yeah.
Just I
I've
love
argued
it.
That June is one of the prototypical like Texas brawlers, right? Like
Yeah,
the Bruiser Bodie archetype. But you and I talked about
Yeah.
this. Where like
yeah,
when you watch the match, it's like yeah, she's the big brawler. She's working with these little women, like the smaller women, and it's like it's traditional. Like if you watch a lucha match, or if you watch like Brody, or if you watch, there's like a bunch of Joshis that work like that, where like the bigger Joshi is
Mhm.
like working with the smaller girl and pushing her. Saray kind of works like that too, right? So, but it's funny that we were talking about June and going like, yeah, she's kind of a trendsetter in a way because that's not necessarily like if you, like going back, like the smaller guys working the bigger guys isn't necessarily something that was like broad at the time, right?
Yeah,
Because you have the weight classes and stuff. Whereas now it's like very
yeah,
familiar to us because the lucha guys do it all the time
Mm.
yeah.
and the Yoshis.
I think it's pretty funny that Roddy is challenging Hechicero for a challenge at the heavyweight title, where Roddy is not a heavyweight at all. Um, I think like when it comes to pro wrestling and what size, because we're talking a little bit about size. We're talking about Big Van Vader, we're talking about Bruiser Brody. I do still think that size matters in pro wrestling. A lot of guys are marking for Doyle and Davis because of the size. Don't say it's anything else. It's just because they're big. They just clobber you with forearms and they do
That's
power
not
bombs.
that's not I will take offense to that because that's not fair. I mean, Mark Davis has been an elite tag team worker for more than a decade. Like, I mean, I was
Yeah,
watching shit
Yeah.
with him and there's a great WXW feud, which is Ilya
Dragunov.
Gunther versus Aussie Open. Great feud.
Yeah.
And
Green
really, if
Pump.
you go back, I mean, because Kyle Fletcher's like he is. Remember, like, have you ever seen like early Takeshita or early Okada, where like they're
Yeah,
just
he's
like
skinny.
big, tall, skinny. He
Oh
can
yeah.
work, but he's big, tall, skinny, babyface. But Mark Davis is the guy that like carries the end on the Aussie Open, and that's like a really incredible feud. I mean, again, it's
I mean,
Ilya
that's going
and
into New Japan,
Walter.
man.
Yeah, like some like it's a great. If you've never seen like it's WXW and it's really good. You can find it online. If you look, you can find it. But like, I mean, Mark Davis is a guy who can work. I think Jake Something is a guy who can work too. It's really funny
Yeah.
that they basically stripped mine the entirety in A Rod. Like, oh, it's kind of
The whole the leaks to do it as well, of course.
I mean, you know, I was telling this to somebody else. Another like, yeah, people keep like complaining about like Tony Khan and like, yeah, it's Tony Khan's fault that all these other companies are treating these wrestlers like shit and not paying them, right? And, like
Yeah.
Tony coming in and like offering them to cover their medical costs and like pay their contracts and then honoring them. Ooh, what a villain!
Hey,
Um,
hey, hey, Arturo. What show made a assumption that the AMC TNA deal is a revenue share deal? What show was that?
Oh, I mean, I said that. I mean, like, again, also like you and I speculated with BJ when it came out, which is that essentially they're not. It's all getting paid off of the possibility of selling deals. Yeah, we explained it, and like, yeah, it's
Yeah.
obviously happening that way because that's part of the reason they haven't signed any contracts with anybody, and that's why like a lot of the, like they were able to be rated for talent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it came out like they filmed a lot of they pre-taped a lot of the matches and a lot of the shows that would be airing like after this initial show. And they were on the promotional material. They had the Rascals. They had Jake
Militelli.
Dohal. Yeah, they had so many of those guys on there, and now we're knowing that a lot of those guys have left. So a lot of those short-term deals they signed seem to be like only like a 2 month deal so that they can cover those takings. I think,
Right, they didn't sign anybody to permanent deals,
yeah,
and they made him part of the storyline.
And
And Tony
obviously,
Khan stooped in and took the talent that he wanted. I mean, you know,
I mean, I'm gonna guess
and
Kelly's gonna
WWE.
turn up in AEW because of her and Myron, I suppose.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's been thrown around. I mean, I think that like somebody was complaining about this, and the thing I actually like said was, it's actually good that AEW is kind of jiggering the roster, right? They're like Hobbs walks. I was joking, like congratulations to what is it? Brick House Will Devils in the like going to NXT to team with Ricky Saints.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, it's not bad that like you're moving a lot of this older talent out and moving in fresh talent, because I do think that like we're used to WWE kind of like having like a bunch of old guys in forever, and it's more exciting and better if you kind of like move things around. I mean, you pay the guys, you bring them in, you work them, and then you let like it's not like Hobbs is going to star, right? He's going to go get like a gig in WWE, which is probably better fit for him, at least in NXT. I don't know about the main roster, but
I
Well,
mean, like the main
suppose.
roster, he's gonna be competing with like guys like Alba Femi, like Trick Williams, you
well,
know,
I mean,
like
I think
Rusev.
the cynical mind, it basically Triple H is moving over from me, so he needs black people he can pin on the main roster.
Oh, oh yeah, yeah.
Mm,
Because they can't, they can't beat the treasured white wrestlers. It's,
I don't see color.
oh
Yeah.
yeah,
The new I watched a video the other day actually that was like don't see color as the new races, and I'm like, yeah, that checks out with certain people in the wrestling business. Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
they don't push. And somebody was arguing with me like about oh, they're like I think it was like they're talking about like how the AEW talent doesn't do better coming into WWE, and I was like, well, no, AEW talent has actually done better than any PC talent. Like
Well,
you've got
look at the give a couple of examples. Street Profits last year. They were in a tag team program thing around about this time last year with DIY and the machine guns. Disappeared. No one's seen them for months. And yet
Yeah.
Jade Cargill, they make all this big deal about Jade Cargill, and already she's injured 2 wrestlers.
At three,
well, I mean, I think
I keep seeing two,
okay.
but like three, she injured Tiffy, gave her a concussion.
I'm gonna go on my rant about the WWE women. The problem with WWE is for the women is
Yeah.
they agent exactly one type of match. They know how to agent one type of match, and the agenting in the women's matches assumes that every single person working it is oh god, what's his name? Norman
Norman
Smiley.
Smiley.
They assume that everyone working the match is Norman Smiley, and once you see it, you won't be able to unsee it. If you ever watch
Yeah,
Norman Smiley, watch
God,
these women work, and they do all the Norman
I,
Smiley is. They
I
do
I
the little,
absolutely
they do the
hate it,
little,
man.
they do the thing where they grab the second rope and like push the head in and kick the leg out and go ah, which is a total Norman Smileyism.
Yeah,
And they do, and like the problem
yeah,
is that one, Norman Smiley was an insanely talented athlete with like a bunch of skills, and two, none of these women can fucking catch, right? So
yeah.
they're
Well,
working
did
these
you
matches.
saw that video, right? The video posted where they were practicing the catch spot for the Money in the Bank, and
Yeah.
for the women practicing the catching, they were standing there with their hands behind their back, watching the other person fall onto a mat.
Yeah, they just don't. And I was because I was making the argument because we were talking about Julia, and I was like, oh no, the problem with Julia is Julia works like we were talking about that archetype. The Julia archetype is the Brody archetype. She works like a brawler. She
Yes.
works like a bruiser who pushes people around, throws them around, and they do not agent the women like that. They don't agent any woman. Like maybe they agent Naya is the only one who they agent like that somewhat,
Like,
right? But
yeah. Also, how do you expect her to get over working Zelina and Chelsea Green over and over working Chelsea Green matches? Those Chelsea
oh,
Green matches are are marketed.
you mean my argument for like why Sasha is a better worker than Io Sky, which is
Oh
like
yeah,
Sasha actually like was working like great matches with like some of these the women that WWE was throwing her, and she was
Dana
like
Brooks.
still working these incredible matches with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's again the problem. Getting back to it is like it's really hard to work if your agenting is only working for that one particular style and you're not suited to that particular style. So like yeah, I mean like Jade should not be working. Jade should be working as kind of the monster Hogan style babyface, and she had it right. The formula was right, and they worked some really good. She worked like this match with Chris, that was great. She worked a couple of really good matches where like because her entire thing should be she's got to work like Under. She's playing to the audience, right?
Yeah,
She's working big. She's
that Taya
working Riz.
match was so good. Like, if people haven't seen the Taya match that she had, that was like one
The
of
Taya match was good. The I'm blanking on her name today. I don't know what's happening. Like, I was working on something else. So, Jack Perry's girlfriend, what's her name?
Anna Jay.
The Anna Jay match is really freaking good because Anna Jay can freaking bump. And the weirdly, Anna Jay like has gotten to the point where like she can bump, right? So which is, I say this, but like the amount of women who can bump properly, like is like it's a skill. It's not like Harley Cameron. The moment I saw she could bump credibly for people and like get lost in the middle of the match, I knew it was going to work with her because like
I did watching, like.
I was watching Aaron. It was the same reason I was watching Aaron Wolf and going, this is going to work because Aaron Wolf was really good at bumping, right? And I was like, if he can bump and sell to the crowd and he can do comebacks, then shit, you can just work the Memphis game plan with this guy, and it'll work.
Man, he really if he's watching Jerry Lawler tapes, and if he gets a punch like Jerry, once he learns how to punch like Jerry or Kurt Angle, that man is going to. Oh my goodness!
Oh yeah,
wrestling doesn't need to be that hard. All you need to do is you need to sell believably, and you need to be able to like sell expressions to the crowd, like bump, sell expressions to the crowd, and get them invested in a comeback, right? And I was telling Doc like, no, I need Aaron Wolf in like a singlet because I need him to drop the singlet when he's doing the comeback. He's also like a huge Kurt Angle fan, so we got to get him. So like we need him to drop the singlet and show him titties, right? Sorry.
Yeah, he just needs, like whether it's a Kurt Angle style singlet, a Tarzan Goto style singlet, the one strap Jerry Lawler thingy, the super strong Machine J, that kind of. I think he would be.
I'm doing a comeback. I am dropping. That's like and I was watching. It's like no, it's perfect, right? And again, like. Problem for WWE for me is that they have a very, 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 very narrow style of match that they work, right? And particularly for the women, and that style limits what they can do, and it takes a very particular talent to actually make it work, right? And they also don't train people very well, so it's like
man, I was thinking about this, right? Because the talent might have been lesser. There might have been less talents, like in the Ruthless Aggression era, right?
Yeah.
But the matches that like Trish and Lita and Victoria and Molly Holly had, that and like even like you move a little bit on, like Beth Phoenix and Eve Torres, those are all agented by Fit Finley, who worked to the strength of these women, and those women worked like their deficiencies were hidden because the other women were able to work to a point where they were able to hide those deficiencies, and because Fit Finley was that kind of agent for those matches. Finley is not agenting those women's matches anymore.
I'm curious who is, because it's a very specific kind of.
It's not even TJ Wilson, because TJ Wilson is like doing a lot of the men's matches. That's what we're seeing a lot more of, like when you watch an Ilja Dragunov, when you watch Carmelo Hayes, like when you watch those guys, that's all TJ Wilson doing the agenting. So like. I don't know who is agenting the women's because it's also not Sarah Del Rey anymore because it's not the dynamic matches we saw 10 years ago.
I think part of that is they pushed to aesthetics more than ability, and the problem with that is, and they also we're getting into like the weeds, but the point being that like it's not the PC is not a very good school for bumping, right? So, and I've said this, the biggest problem is they lack mechanics, right? So a lot of the time. The connective tissue, when I say mechanics, are the guys who can bump, right? The guys who can go out, like the Roddy Strongs of the world, who can go out and like make anybody look good, right? Yeah. Or, like honestly, I'm like, Anna Jay is underrated now because I trust Anna Jay to get into a match and bump for you, right? Even
maybe she shows up tonight, man. Maybe she shows up tonight.
Yeah, I mean, like we're kind of like, you need people who can kind of like get into these matches and work these mid-card matches and kind of bump around. And I think one of the things that I getting back to like all the people who sign, like all the people that AEW signed can fucking bump. All the people like AEW's I've brought in are guys who don't need great pushes and can bump like just guys that if you put them in matches, they're gonna make people look good. And if you got access to like Dorada, if you put Dorada in with like I don't know, Jake something or like any of the Rascals or like like you Commander with Ace Austin, right? You have guys who you trust to get in there. Like I put Ace Austin in with Hechicero, right? Like
Hey man, if you split, so you lose Private Party, right? But then you get the Rascals.
Exclusive. Yeah, you're talking about future NXT champions exclusive engagement. But yes,
Yeah, you lose, so you lose them, right? And then you get these guys, the Rascals, who could work with the guys like the Crew and could make like Top Flight look like something, right? They could work around Top Flight.
Top Flight's a team that like I know he's your boy. I know he's your boy, but like Top Flight is a team that could probably be better served by going to WWE at this point.
Yeah. I honestly like
because
Top Flight and Private Party should,
The counter to this is if you're a guy like Private Party or like Top Flight who can work, right? They are guys who can bump and can work. And maybe they don't have like that big upside, but like they can get in the middle of the card in WWE and have a job there for the next 20 years, right? Because they can be mid-card guys who bump safely, right? And WWE actually really needs mid-card guys who can bump safely. Now, maybe you're not getting anywhere, but like being a mid-card jobber in WWE can pay the bills for 20 years, right? Like there's again, roster motion isn't bad, right? Because I think some of the stuff that's bad for WWE, like again, it's like they can grab somebody to like come in and be that middle of card bumper. That's great, right? Because they need that. They definitely need that, right? And again, a lot of the problem is also as that roster gets older, and it's really old now, people are going to start getting hurt, right? Like you can't work this style like they also like the Heyman specials where everyone's doing finishers and not count on guys with like on their second neck surgery to get hurt, right?
Yeah,
it's tricky.
I mean, look what happened to the guy from Pretty Deadly. He's he's
getting like the double neck fusion or something. They're like, it's very interesting. 26 is going to be very interesting because this is 2027 is a contract year where a lot of guys. We were having this conversation in the Discord earlier this morning, and I said like something about like, but if your contract's running out, well, isn't that usually when Tony Khan doesn't book you so that you won't lose your value? And then Trish chimed in and said he's not going to book not all of his main eventers for this long. Isn't that a little bit curious that all the main eventers have their contracts coming up next year? It is going to be very interesting to see movement.
What's gonna be hilarious, and I keep saying it, and people kind of keep poo-pooing me. I suspect Roman Reigns' next contract negotiation is going to be hilarious because if you look at the way they've booked him, where they have not. He hasn't main evented. He hasn't had a singles main event since he lost to Cody, right?
Yeah.
Not a single one. None. He hasn't worked a singles match in the main event since then. When they had the launch event for WrestlePalooza, they didn't call him. When they had the other big stuff, like when they needed that, they called AJ Lee, not him. So they are not booking him or treating him like a draw.
You know what his last singles main event was?
Mm-hmm.
Overall, his last singles main event was beating Solo Sikoa last year to be the
on the January 6th Raw,
the tribal chief. That's the last time the news.
But that's not a singles match. I think that's a three-way. Was that?
No. That was the singles match. Him versus Solo Sikoa.
They don't.
Mania match is a triple threat.
They very clearly do not treat him like a main eventer. Like not since Vince left, they don't treat him like a main eventer. They don't treat him like a draw.
The whole thing. I mean, the plan was, keyword was, up until last Wednesday to do Cody Roman 3 at WrestleMania, and then they're like, oh no, we'll do it the long way round with Drew and Fatu and.
Yeah,
Cody, who's an actual draw, probably said no to that. Said like, man,
they'll probably end up doing Cody versus Punk if they're smart.
I think I think Punk will get his WrestleMania main event, and it'll be hilarious because it's going to be the WrestleMania that nobody watches, right? So like he's
Oh,
going to
the
get the
Saudi one.
no.
No,
He's going
no,
to get it
this
this year.
year.
Like no, have I? Okay, so Matt. Okay, maybe you don't know this, but WrestleMania is on ESPN, right?
Right.
And
Okay.
do you know what happens on the Saturday of WrestleMania in 2026?
Nope.
It is Game 1 of the NBA playoffs. You know who's
Oh,
retired? You know who may be playing his last playoff game? His playoff game 1?
LeBron.
LeBron James. You
Yeah,
know who
yeah.
has the rights probably to that game?
ESPN.
So, and I was joking about this. I said, look, if Christ comes back that week, right? Christ comes back. He's coming back. ESPN is interviewing, and they're going like, Jesus, you're the son of a famous father.
Yeah.
How do you think Bronny James feels about LeBron James playing his last playoff game?
And it's eight
That's
playoff.
the only.
It's 8 game 1s that whole weekend.
Yeah, like they have. It's game 1s all over the place, and like I'm being
Yeah.
jokey, but like effectively, my take is like I don't think nobody thought about this when they did this because if they thought about it, they would have moved WrestleMania because
Yeah.
there's going to be literally no air
Yeah.
on like, and also the Knicks might be the number 1 seed too. So like they're gonna have Stephen A. Smith screaming about the Knicks. You're gonna have LeBron's possible last final game 1 for the Lakers. They might be in the play-in. So like there's gonna be literally no oxygen for ESPN for that week. And
It's gonna
WrestleMania is on
be
ESPN that week. It's
it's
hilarious.
gonna
So
be
like
very
if they
interesting.
thought about it for a second, they would have moved that WrestleMania. So like he's
Yeah.
gonna go on Sunday and like ESPN's not gonna be pushing it at all
'Cause-
because like I mean it depends. I would suspect that the Lakers are probably gonna play on Sunday, is my
Yeah.
suspicion, right?
Because they moved last year.
Oh,
They moved WrestleMania to Easter Sunday for no reason at all. I'm
yeah.
not. They moved it last year for no reason at all, but I don't think they're gonna move it this year because they already have these. They're not gonna spend more money to move it.
I mean, I knew it from the go when they announced. I was like, but wait a second, you're doing this date, and I know that date. It's like I know game 1, like I know what game 1 is, and like people have been talking about this for the year. It's gonna get crazy if it is. I mean, I don't know. It may not necessarily be LeBron's last game, but even if it isn't, right? Like ESPN's gonna be all over that. ABC's gonna be over that. So your TV partner, like, really doesn't want you on that weekend, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny to me how they did that, and it kind of tells me that like we've talked about this before, which is like whoever tells me that this was some master plan for them to go to ESPN, I just point them to like the scheduling on WrestleMania and go like, nah, this was like they pulled this together at the last minute because like other people bailed.
Well,
Yeah.
that is definitely clear because one, the whole mess about people whether they could get it or not in time for WrestlePalooza. Two, the fact that they just like, oh yeah, WrestlePalooza is going to be on ESPN now, and everyone's like, wait, what? And then and now, isn't there a civil action going on at the moment in regards to the ESPN?
Yeah, like they're like. I was telling this to Doc, which is somebody. I'm assuming some lawyer looked at like all the press releases and said like, yeah, we can get them to pay us. They're gonna have to pay their customers because they kind of misinterpret.
Hey man,
interpretation of the press releases they put out.
I'm
Like
gonna give my breaking news on this. I gave that to my brother and to my sister and to my cousins who have ESPN Plus for the W. They just have it. Maybe they got it for WWE Network, but now I gave them this, and I got a little bit. They got on that class action suit, so let's see how that goes.
they might. Oh, they signed up for the class act. They're gonna get like a nice $50 check or something. Probably.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I suspect like the way this works is like the lawyers will take a cut and like they'll get a big paycheck and at some point and do that. And, like it might be the Saudis paying for it, but like yeah, they'll get a check at some point.
I absolutely love that, man. I'm just gonna put a pause right here. And of course, I would like to thank Numbers and Matt for coming on to the show and sharing all that time with me. You can find Numbers on X at American Numbers. You can find Matt over at his podcast network, That Match Royalty, and he writes articles on music and pro wrestling. He has a pro wrestling diary. This has been a special. recording of State of Wrestling. A little bit of bonus for everyone out there. So thank you so much. And please continue to rate, like, support any way you can, because I appreciate all of you out there. Thank you.
Yeah.